Yo, what's cracking? It's your homeboy Ice Cube, and you tuned in to Everything Snowboarding and More podcast. You know what it is, baby.
Welcome back to the Everything Snowboarding and More podcast. This is episode number 40. My name is Mike Hardiker, and I'm your host for the show. This week's special guest is Scotty Lago. Scotty Lago is a badass snowboarder, Olympian. The interview kind of cut off the first few seconds, but we'll just jump right into it. Once again, this episode is being sponsored by SparkRND.com. If you're the type of splitboarder that goes out mountaineering, really tough on your gear, be sure to check out the Spark splitboard bindings. They've got the Arc, the Surges, as well as the Pro line, women's bindings, and much more. SparkRND.com.
I guess my passion for hunting really started to pick up within the last 7 years, and each year I've been kind of spending more time and a little bit more passionate at it, and I guess a little bit more crazy, as my wife might say. Just going full ham on it.
Yeah, it's pretty addicting. You know, one of the things that we're seeing with hunting in particular is the fastest user group is coming out of the action sports community. You know, people that snowboard and ski and mountain bike. And now all these people are like, hey, wait a sec, I eat healthy and I play in the mountains part of the year. You know, what's this other thing these guys are doing in the fall?
Right.
That's pretty cool. Did you start with a rifle, or have you, I saw a picture of a big buck. Why don't you tell us about that first?
Which buck are you talking about?
Oh, gosh.
I killed a big one this year with my bow and arrow. That was the biggest one I've killed this year. And then I killed one of the biggest deer shot in Maine last year with my rifle when I was tracking. It was, you talking about the one with snow on the ground?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah, cool. So I got that up in northern Maine, and I got it tracking. So we go up every year. I'm somewhat new to tracking, but I've been going up for the last 4 years, and I mean, it's just, there's no better adventure, no better. I mean, it's so peaceful, and it is so damn hard, but also no better chance to go out and kill kind of the biggest deer that you can find, because you don't pick up a track unless it's a big track and a good size stride and width to it. So you're going to be tracking a big deer, and you just take it for miles. We go up into land where Maine's pretty awesome like that. I mean, if it's not posted land, then you can hunt it. So there's, thousands and thousands of acres, privately owned, and people don't post, either paper companies or lumber companies, own huge tracts of land. So we can just drive around and it's best when we get a fresh snowfall. So, we go out early in the morning and we find a big track crossing the road. And if it's big enough and if it's fresh enough, then we'll take it. I should park my truck right there, set my GPS and head off. So the story behind this buck is I ended up tracking a smaller deer into this big cedar swamp. And I had been up to Maine. I've been in Maine for about 3 weeks. I just kind of grinding and putting on miles. I walked over 100 miles just actually on tracks throughout my trip. But I tracked a smaller one into this thick cedar swamp. And I eventually saw this giant's track cross right in front of me. And I'm like, all right, this thing is huge. And I could tell it was smoking fresh. Before I even stepped up and started tracking, I made it about 2 steps, started tracking this new deer, because I swapped. I'm like, this thing is huge. I'm not interested in the one I was tracking before. I heard a grunt behind me, and I'm like, oh my God. I'm like, geez and crow. I'm like, is that another hunter? So it kind of freaked me out, because I knew there's some other hunters in the area, so I whistled. I was like, and friggin' I turned around, and here comes this giant buck through about 15 feet away from me. Somehow he was not freaked out by my whistle. I was able to raise my 30-06, just old iron sights carbine, and I shot him, and I let every other bullet in my clip go, and only hit him once. And that was the story. Ended up being 246 pounds, big framed, big Maine deer, and yeah, I couldn't have been any happier with him.
Wow, that's a Great story. And I love that, you were tracking the one and then you saw the fresh tracks and you're like, I'm going to go this way now. Did you spend as many days hunting as you did snowboarding last year? Or how does that balance out for you?
Ooh, that's a good question.
I think for myself, last year, I probably put more days, boots on the ground, like you said, hunting. I was, really getting into it, deer and elk hunting. And this year I finally got a couple of elk and I got them within, 5 or 6 days. I got both of them. And I was like, wow, that was, but I still wouldn't mind, putting the 40 or 50 days in, just walking around because it's just different and it's so special.
Right.
And to be able to see the terrain in a whole new way.
Oh, I agree with you, man. I guess in like a perfect world, right? You kill your deer or your elk on the last day of the hunt, right? So you get all the fun of chasing them and the challenge, and then you get it done on the last day. That would be ideal.
That's funny.
I think last year, I think I did spend more time in the woods than I did on the mountain. But my priorities have changed a little bit. I'm not actually trying to be a professional snowboarder anymore. So it would usually be, I would be gone in early November, when I was competing, training right away and was full out all the way until April. So I have a lot more time on my hands now. And so, yeah.
Well, speaking of snowboarding, tell us about your snowboard company.
Yeah. So I started Lago Snowboards about 6 years ago, and I actually teamed up with one of my old board techs from Flow Snowboards. He used to be board tech, and we worked hand in hand. I made four pro models with him, so we kind of knew right where to start. He started working for this factory. I reached out to him. He's like, dude, this is perfect. He's like, we already know where to start, and here we are six years later, and finally starting to build some steam up. I'd say for the first 3 years, it was as far as business aspect, it was more or less like a passion project / hobby. It wasn't really, doing much. And I also didn't have the time to put into it. That was the biggest thing, right? It's like my main priority was snowboarding and my obligations to sponsors and competitions and stuff like that. So now that I've had more time to dedicate to Lago Snowboards, it's starting to pick up steam, and we make awesome snowboards. I mean, we make super high quality snowboards at a lot cheaper price than you can really get, because we go direct to consumer, all online, and we keep it insanely simple. I don't have any reps or anything like that, so I can cut my costs a lot there.
Definitely. I think there's something to be said for when snowboarders or professional snowboarders start their own brand. I mean, I can see it when I looked at the profiles of your boards, kind of almost a throwback, when I saw the flat profiles and the camber profiles. Kind of tell us about some of the different profiles you did and, the use of ASIM. What was, I don't see a lot of rocker in the line. What kind of was the design ideas for these boards?
Well, I mean, as far as the ASIM, asymmetrical, so essentially it has like a tighter heel side edge. It's supposed to help you turn heel side, and it does. So, but I also wanted a twin tip. So you have one designated heel side edge and toe side edge, but it can be ridden either way. So, as far as camber and rocker, in my eyes, if you're going to be, bring your snowboarding to the highest level, you need a camber board. I think all riders would agree, all at least high level riders would agree that, camber's kind of the best way, and whether it's an aggressive camber or kind of a flatter camber, but camber really just helps you hold your edge, especially on impact of, landing or half pipe or whatever. So yeah, I was more into the camber, but we do have one slight rocker. It's more like a flat rocker. It's just, it's not very extreme, but you can notice a big difference. So pressing and stuff like that on boxes or rails or whatever, it's just a lot more fun and a little bit more freestyle when it comes to butters and stuff like that. So that's the shred stick. But we only have 3 models, right? So we have the double barrel, which is my go-to. We have the open road, which is a directional powder board, but it also can kind of shred everything. And then we have the shred stick, the one I just described, more, whatever, jibber style, and it can hold its own on jumps and pipe too.
Again, I like that you're actually kind of building boards for, people and the style of riding they're doing. It seems like camber, especially in the split board area, camber is kind of the go-to. The other day I was selling a splitboard to a guy and he said, well, why is this camber? I'm in the backcountry. I want rocker. And I said, well, the rocker's fun when you're riding powder. I said, but you're not going to really enjoy that on the skin track as you're sliding backwards. So it seems the industry really, especially with splitboarding, is going camber. And there's still a few brands that, really love their rocker camber profile. But like you said, anybody that's really been snowboarding for a while or that just wants that performance, I think is realizing that camber, there was nothing wrong with it, so
Totally. Yeah, that's the thing. There was nothing wrong with it. But there's also, hey, you want to mix it up. You want to have a quiver with some different boards and different shapes and stuff. I'm all for it, right? I have a quiver with all kinds of weird stuff. But yeah, totally. I agree with you.
Do you miss seeing quarter pipe competitions?
Nope, I don't.
You don't? Okay.
The only reason because it's just, dude, someone ends up always getting broke off on a quarter pipe contest, because it's essentially, who points it and goes the fastest into it, and, we all end up pushing it farther than we can, and someone ends up getting broke off. But they are fun. They're awesome. And then it's, it's an awesome event for a crowd, right? So you can kind of have it in anywhere. We did one in Breckenridge in the parking lot where we were getting towed in from snowmobiles. Pretty cool. So, yeah, they're fun, but I don't really necessarily miss them.
Yeah, it's not too fun to deck out when you're that high up.
Right? Yeah, totally. As far as a contest wise, I don't really miss the competing, but I do love quarter pipes. Just to hit and whatever.
And how about big mountain riding? Do you like going out and shredding big lines, or what's kind of your go-to these days?
Yeah, man. I think I'd choose, a powder day over any other day. I don't think I'm alone with that, So, yeah, big mountain, I'm all for it. Honestly, I live on the East Coast, right? I live in New Hampshire. So when I have the opportunity to go ride, some big mountain, it's usually end of the year in Alaska or something like that, then, I jump on it. But anytime I can score a powder day, wherever it might be, I'm first in line.
All right, and how about
I try to be at least.
I love it. Yeah, one day there was a big dump out at Squaw, and I told my friend, I said, we got to get here a couple hours early. And all of a sudden, I look behind me, and there's Jeremy and Rylan and a bunch of guys, and I was like, "What happened? You guys got here late?" And he just gave me the dirtiest look. I was like, "Well, it's a powder day. You gotta get there early."
That's funny. Yeah. They were talking about it. They had too many drinks at the bar talking about it.
Exactly. How about as far as like splitboarding? Have you done much splitboarding, or is that something that you see Lago Snowboards doing in the future?
Believe it or not, I can't lie. I've never been splitboarding before.
No shit. Wow.
Yeah, I've never. Honestly, I've just never had the kind of opportunity, or it made sense for me to. Anytime I was doing anything backcountry, it was either hiking something, either like a cliff or a booter. We would have sleds or helicopter. But for me, it's been kind of just boots hiking, But I want to get into it, and I think it makes more sense for me nowadays, where I can go out and cruise and whatever, just kind of pick my own line. But yeah, definitely would be interested in doing something like that. But I gotta do it myself first.
For sure. Well, if you ever make it out to Jackson, I would love to take you out. We've got really fun kind of mini golf splitboarding. And, for me, it's just about getting out and doing the tour. I rarely get into avalanche terrain. I ski really, really fun trees, and, when the conditions are right, you can push it a little farther. But it's really, I haven't had a ski pass in, I think, 8 years now, and it's completely changed the game. But I can see where, in the past when you were working, in efficiency, going out on the sled or getting a heli bump is going to be much more efficient than, all right, let's go and tour out there for the day and, be completely cooked by the time you get to the top of a run.
Right. Well, that's literally the only thing that has kept me back from it, right? Because it's like, a lot of times it's, I have a goal, or we have, objective in mind when we're when we're on the mountain, whether it's filming, getting a shot, or, competing or practicing or whatever, so I don't know. It just really never fell into place, but it's something that I know that I would love. I think I would take more enjoyment of, just as much enjoyment, cruising up and, splitting, than coming down. So I definitely want to get into it. I would love to hit you up and rip around out in Jackson with you. It sounds like a blast.
Yeah, it's super fun. Do you do any mountain biking?
No, not really. I mean, I have here a little bit, but no, nothing serious.
So outside of like hunting in the fall, how do you stay busy in the summertime?
Hanging with friends. I mean, up until a couple of years ago, we were still boarding a bunch in the summer, either out in New Zealand or South America or Mount Hood. But yeah, just bopping around. I have a property in Southampton, New Hampshire, where I find more projects than I can handle in 10 years. So I like working around the property and hanging local.
And you mentioned friends. Do you guys still have the Friends crew running around?
Yeah, we're all still here, but we don't have the headphone business anymore, but we're just the crew. And yeah, we all kind of going our separate ways in just in life, more or less taking us, Danny Davis is still crushing it. Jack Matrani now does, announcing. He also works for Burton. Mason Aguirre is in South Carolina. He opened a hairdressing spot. He's got his own barbershop. Luke Matrani, he is now a successful musician and doing that. So we're all kind of just spread out and doing random stuff.
That's awesome. And
but obviously still boarding, and that's what brought us together, and that's what kind of ties us together.
For sure. How about injuries? What have been some of the injuries you've had over the years participating in snowboarding or just life?
Dude, I've got a lot. I have, I've broken almost like 30 bones or over 30 bones. A lot of concussions, separated AC shoulders. But yeah, man, you name it, I've broke. I guess I just don't really have the best of luck. I like to push it too much. Broken both my arms, both my wrists, collarbones, nose, neck, sternum, jaw, teeth, bones in my feet, ankle, a lot of them.
It reminds me of the old pictures in the snowboard mag where they would show the guy and just show all the different injuries, and it would just be like, holy cow, these guys have gotten broken off over the years. How did you come back from all these? Just lots of PT and just dedication to knowing that you wanted to snowboard?
Fortunately, I didn't really have any like career-ending injuries. As far like I didn't have any ligament injuries, right? Like the ligament injuries are always the ones that kind of keep coming back and have to get surgery. I just broke a lot of bones, so I was just casted up a lot. But I used that time, when I was down to chill, to refocus, to kind of look at my my career in snowboarding and to remotivate and to almost make sure that I was still heading in the right direction, or the direction that I wanted to go. And I just tried to turn a negative into a positive and work to my mental game. And yeah, that's kind of how I dealt with my injuries. And honestly, it kind of sounds weird, but I think they were a good thing for me, because I think a lot of times I needed that break to step back and be like, wow, what, I didn't actually want to be going in this way or, doing it this way, but you're boarding, and every day, you're just kind of grinding, and all of a sudden you're off in a different area. But, so yeah, that was kind of a ramble, but that's kind of how I use injuries to my advantage, I guess.
For sure. What doesn't kill you makes you stronger. And I know for myself, whether it's an injury or something in life, you hit the bottom kind of like that. And you're like, okay, I don't want to be down here. And what do I need to do to get back to, even a better person than I was? Right.
And there's been so many riders. I mean, so many athletes, right? It comes with the territory, right? You're going to get hurt. I mean, it's how you deal with it, can be the biggest difference.
For sure. You mentioned the mental aspect. Do you meditate, or do you do any esoteric practices? I mean, how did that help in your training, or if at all?
I do now. I didn't so much not too long ago, but we have dealt with some sports psychologists and stuff like that. And I guess the mental aspects, it's just kind of getting everything, in your control, dial in as much as you can, and then leaving everything it just makes you feel like, when you're at a contest or whatever, everything that's taken care of, your board style, you've got it back up, your body's right, and you have a plan going into it. I guess that's kind of really what I focused on as far as mental game. But nowadays, yeah, I definitely meditate. I've been starting to do it every morning, and I think it's a huge plus. I think. I really don't know what I think about it, but I'm learning.
I like that. I could hear the pause, like when you said that. I mean, it's changed my life, and I got into Buddhism a few years ago, and I was like, oh my God, I'm like much more of a mellow person now. And it's interesting how our thoughts can start getting in the way. I mean, when I used to compete and do the big mountain comps, I would show up and I'd do my run and I would just fall apart. I'd be shredding hard all day. I'd do my run. I would fall apart. I'd shred hard all afternoon. I was just like, I was a complete, just mental shit show, where other people, maybe had their breath work dialed or just kind of future forward thinking, okay, this is where I'm going. This is what I'm hitting. I know I'm going to make the second round. I know I'm going to make the podium. I just personally never had that in the past. So it's definitely, it seems like the sports psychologists play into that.
Totally. Yeah. I mean, you're not alone, right? I was right there with you, man. I think that was one of my biggest things. And, kind of one of my biggest flaws in at least competing. I would go and I would win a handful of practices. I would go win practice and then fall on my last run and in the contest. So I can't tell you how many times I've done that. So I hear you, Mike. It's all good.
I appreciate that.
As long as we're learning, right? We're getting better.
Oh, for sure.
That's what matters.
For sure. If you're not falling, you're not trying, right?
That's right.
Okay, let's wrap this up. I want to kind of swing back into the hunting. So this year you were out bow hunting. Was this your first season as a bow hunter?
No, I've been bow hunting since I've been a kid. I killed my first deer when I was 10 with my bow, and so I've been doing it forever, and I love it, man. You see a lot more during archery season. There's just a lot less people in the woods. The deer are more active, and just a lot less pressure, right, from other hunters, right? Once shotgun rifle opens up, whole fleet of people wearing pumpkin colored clothing, filtrate the woods, and the deer learn quick. All the critters learn quick.
Pumpkin colored clothing. I like that. I haven't heard that one before.
Yeah, pumpkin heads running around everywhere.
Oh, well, Scotty, I really appreciate you jumping on the call with us today. And how can people find out more information about Lago Snowboards?
Yeah, simple enough. LagoSnowboards.com, LAGO snowboards.com. Go check it out. We are sold out of a few models right now, a few sizes, but we should be getting some more in here the next week or so. So yeah, check them out. They're awesome. You will not be disappointed. If you break your board, we'll get you a new one. And check it out.
Right on. Well, thanks, Scotty. Enjoy the rest of your day. Have a good season. Stay healthy, and look forward to shredding with you here in Jackson sometime soon.
All right. I like that.
Killer.
Appreciate it, Mike.
Right on, Scotty. Bye.
All right.
Yep.
Bye.
All right. Well, that was a really fun interview with Scotty. Scotty, thanks again. And hopefully we will take him out splitboarding here in the Tetons sooner than later. Thanks so much for tuning in. Episode number 40 of the Everything Snowboarding and More podcast.